Testing one. Testing two. Cool. Well, it seems like I've got everything going. So, yeah, everything is running. Great. Cool. Wonderful. That means I didn't break it. Hello. Here, we'll do this. Hello. I am Kit Thomas. Of course, a lot of you may follow me for my Minecraft stuff over on Twitch or my actual meteorology stuff on my YouTube. This is my first time doing a double stream. I've got a couple of platforms here. I couldn't figure out Facebook. I was trying to figure that one out. It just wasn't quite working for me, but I think we'll be fine. We'll get things going here on Twitch and YouTube, and maybe one day we'll add in an extra bit with Facebook Live at some point, but we'll see how it goes. Everything looks like it's running on YouTube and on Twitch, so if you are watching, let me know. I'm going to keep a close eye on the chat on both of those platforms as well, just to make sure I am catching y'all as you pop in, so I appreciate it if you are watching. I'll keep a close eye on chat, but I want to get into some of the details because we do have a chance for some pretty intense, severe thunderstorms as we get into our Sunday evening. But I want to just start things off. We've got to look at satellite here around the region. I'm going to just zoom in a little bit here, maybe across the Central Plains. So this will be a good shot. So we've got a pretty widespread area of some very dry air across the southeastern U.S. here. This is where we've been seeing quite a lot of, you can't see that. There we go. We'll flip it that way. We've had a ton of thunderstorms or wildfires going off across the southeast here. You can see there in the afternoon, a lot of the smoke rising. We'll just pause it here just before sunset because that gets a good low angle. You can really see the smoke really easily. A lot of them in Arkansas, across Louisiana, there's a plume. Mississippi has a few. Alabama has several. In Missouri, Kansas as well. And then this feature out towards the west, over Utah and getting into Colorado. Really now it's starting to move more into Colorado. This is the current jet stream that's going to be creating our severe setup as we go into tomorrow. Let's actually look at the upper level water vapor, and we'll get a wide view. This really shows that shortwave trough starting to come into the Pacific Northwest through the day into the Mountain West. And we've sort of got two branches of the jet stream coming together. There's 4 jet streams on the planet, 2 in each hemisphere, the polar jet streams and the subtropical jet streams. And we've got the polar and the subtropical northern hemisphere jet streams coming together right now. Here's the polar jet stream. This is the generally weaker subtropical jet stream, and they're starting to merge here across the western United States. So that's going to lead to some more intense thunderstorms over the next couple of days here across the central U.S. and the eastern U.S. I want to take you to the Storm Prediction Center site here because this is the outlook for tomorrow. This is what we're looking at for the potential of severe thunderstorms to hit the Mid-South and the lower Midwest tomorrow afternoon. This is the day 2 outlook. And I'll break it down for you. So this is the tornado threat. Basically, the risk category is the amount of spread. So a level 1, a very isolated, marginal severe. Level 2, more scattered. But then we'll see more widespread severe on an enhanced risk day. So level 3, more widespread. Thunderstorms will be intense. Many of them will be severe. Moderate is where most of them are severe. Some of them could be significant, very significant. High risk is basically every storm is going to be severe, is going to produce some extreme characteristics that could be dangerous. So all of these categories are just a simple way to look at it, but we can sort of break those down into the constituent threats. So we've got a tornado threat that we've got on our on Tuesday here. we've got that right here in the Mid-South. In fact, I want to break this down using a new tool here. This is the Aguacero program. I've been starting to use this recently. It's a great program. I think it's fantastic. Let's see here. So this is day 2. All right, there we go. Let's just look at the tornado risk. So the tornado risk up to a 10%. I like it because I can zoom. It's great. Where we've got the 2% risk here. You can see pretty clearly that we've got that 2% risk all the way up into Michigan, into the Carolinas, all the way down to the Gulf Coast. But the 5% and the 10% bullseyes kind of right over the Memphis area up towards western Kentucky, down to central Mississippi. So this is where the line is going to be coming through and likely going to be producing tornadoes. I can add on this layer here that shows the actual thunderstorms coming through on the model data. So as those storms are coming in, there might be an isolated severe thunderstorm threat. I'm actually going to go in. This is the other cool thing with this. I'm going to edit the layer, and I'm just going to take off a few of these lower reflectivities here just to isolate those thunderstorms. Sure, we'll take that last one off. All right, so here you see we've got those that yellow to red. Those are the deep convection storms that we'll see rolling in, and those come in around 7 o'clock into the Memphis area, 7 to 8 o'clock on this particular model. So some models are going to differ on the timing, but as they start, they could have some tornado activity to them. But once we get some isolated storms ahead of the line, like we've got here across northern Arkansas, moving into the Mississippi Valley, this is where the threat for little kinks in the line, where some of the storms sort of outpace one another and lead to some rotation. That's where we're expecting that severe weather to roll through. So we've got to be very cautious of that as we go into tomorrow afternoon, because it's going to be a pretty intense severe weather setup on tomorrow evening. So, and that's going to be pretty late into the evening as well. It gets out of the 10% by 11 o'clock, headed into Nashville, and there's still a chance for some of those storms to be severe and bringing a tornado threat into the overnight, into early 9 a.m. there. That's Monday morning. Yeah, Monday. And then into the next threat as well after that as well. So that's the tornado threat. I'm going to go back to this layer and let's just look at the wind threat, because the wind threat is going to be the primary threat with this. And we'll likely see some of those storms right along that line of storms rolling into the Memphis area with very strong straight line winds. The thing with this kind of a setup, you see how it's all connected. We've just got this nearly unbroken line of convection, with the purple shade being the really, really heavy rain and probably some hail in there. All of this is pretty much unbroken, and that is a pure severe straight line wind setup. That's what we expect. These hatch marks means that we could see significant winds, likely in excess of 60 to 70 miles per hour for the winds, maybe even up to 80 mile per hour winds by some of the discussion. So it could be a very intense line of storms coming in. Raul Perez, I see you've commented here. I apologize. I don't know how to read Spanish, but I appreciate you being here. Looks like you're talking about some very heavy rain, I'm guessing, in Puerto Rico. Sorry, I don't speak Spanish, though. I'm sorry. Anyhow, with that line of thunderstorms rolling through, straight line winds is going to be the primary risk, I think, with these thunderstorms. There's also the threat for some hail with these storms as well, though it's more on the southern end of the line, especially with the more isolated thunderstorms that we see, especially there out ahead of the line. We get more isolated supercell set up there, so that's going to be more of that the large hail threat. So that's the breakdown of the different threats of those thunderstorms. Again, this is an awesome tool, Aguacero. I've been using it for the last couple of weeks here. Really, really great tool. So this is the Storm Prediction Center outlook out for the area. Again, level 3, primarily for that straight line wind risk, but also for the tornado and hail risks around the area. So we'll clear that off. I'm going to go back to College of DuPage site here because this is sort of showing us where we've got that trough across the west coast. We've had the ridge of high pressure around our area. We'll load that here in just a moment. But if we look at the surface analysis, this is the old data. There we go. We do have kind of a cold front that started to come in today, but it's going to weaken. It's sort of stalled out around our area and turned more into a warm front through the day as it started to lift back to the north. We've had some pretty strong winds out of the south today. And it's going to be an evolving situation as we go over the next 36 hours, really. The other side of this is also a blizzard. We've got a blizzard across the upper Midwest tomorrow, while we have the severe thunderstorm set up across our area in the Mid-South. Upper Midwest is looking at some very high winds and heavy, heavy snow coming down, possibly some 30 inches across parts of Wisconsin, which is mind-boggling to me. Yeah, as those storms roll through, we actually see quite a dip in our temperatures because this high pressure, if you go back, you see it's coming all the way down from northern Canada. So that's going to bring in some very cold Arctic air across our area. We'll eventually warm back up later on in the week. But overall, I think the primary threat is just going to be those extremely strong winds that we'll have tomorrow afternoon, or really evening's time frame. So I want to go to the National Weather Service website here from Memphis, because there's another aspect to this with the wind advisory that's in place here in Memphis. They're talking about 8 a.m. to 8 a.m. Sunday to 1 a.m. Monday. There's a wind advisory in place because we could see some of those just the wind from the ahead of the front, not even the storms. They're getting upwards of, let's see here. I hit the wrong one. Wind advisory? Yeah, here we go. So wind advisory looking around 20 to 30 sustained miles per hour, gusts up to 45. So it'll be strong winds out of the south initially, and then it will turn out of the northwest around 30 to 40 miles per hour. So pretty strong winds, and then we'll see some sub-freezing temperatures around the area. It's going to be cold after this. So let's just we'll go to Memphis Airport here. So this will show us their forecast. We've already put our forecast on our website, but it's just quicker to get it here. So 77 tomorrow, beautiful day. Most of the day will be very, very calm, quiet, beautiful weather. It's not going to be it's not going to be a bad day. It's just going to be breezy. But then after that, those storms come through, and we'll likely see those storms turn pretty severe pretty quickly into the evening time frame. So we'll have to wait to see what those storms do become. But notice there, Sunday night, we dropped to 31. Then Monday night, we dropped to 23. So it's going to be very, very cold the next couple of days after these storms move through. It'll be 37 Tuesday night, and then we get back up into the 40s Wednesday night. So we are going to warm up over the next couple of days. It's just going to take us a couple of days to get there after these storms roll through. So unfortunately, it's going to be a pretty wild couple of days here. I'm going to take you over here. Oh my goodness, this map is needing to reload. There we go. Look at all these alerts that we've got. The blizzard warnings here in orange. There's the winter storm warning and the blizzard warning across the entire upper peninsula of Michigan. They're all under a blizzard warning across the Minneapolis, St. Paul area into Iowa. Let's see. Can I just do winter hazards? There we go. Iowa into the Quad Cities, blizzard warning across South Dakota, the eastern side of South Dakota, most of northern Wisconsin, Door County out there in the blizzard warning, and then on into Michigan as well. So very strong winds with this system. Not only the blowing snow, but the just low visibility is going to be an issue out that direction. There's also here around our area, we've got a freeze watch, a couple of freeze watches for the deep cold we've got coming in right now. So there's going to be a couple of layers to this. Of course, we also have the high wind advisory around the area. So all of these threats are going to be compounding on each other, as we'll see. Hey, Shipwreck, welcome in. Good to see you over there on Twitch. Appreciate you jumping in with me here. We're talking about just this big winter storm that's on the way. We'll switch back over to Aguacero here. So if you look back towards here, I know you're up in the Ontario area, so I'll get them in view. It looks like it's moving more towards the south of Ontario to start with, and then as it starts to swing and pivot, eastern Ontario is going to have more of the impacts. So got a lot of viewers over here on YouTube as well. So if you're watching, and if you can, ask where you're at, let me know where you're from. Oh goodness, 20 inches of snow in Ontario from Shipwreck there. So lots and lots of snow. Let's see if I can't add in that layer here. So model precipitation, winter precipitation. There we go. Let's do positive total snow depth change. Maybe. It might take it a minute to load in. There we go. Oh, yeah. Okay, so Minneapolis, we're looking at about 11 inches, 18 outside of Eau Claire, up into Marquette, Michigan, 17, 18. Oh, I saw 27 there in northeastern Wisconsin. Southern Ontario, 35 inches of snow in that area. So, golly, Pete. So if you're somewhere in the 20 inch range, it's going to be some pretty intense snowfall right in here in southern Ontario. Jay McLovin with Handsman's right. Appreciate you watching, Jordan. Yeah. I mean, I don't think we're going to see snow here. Maybe in the mountains. The mountains might see some snow in that direction, but things are going to be pretty quiet here in Memphis. I don't think we'll see that snow threat. But I want to rewind this because we do have, I do want to go through some of the timing for these storms here around the Memphis area. I'm actually going to come into the map and add back in the county borders. There we go. One thing I would like to see about doing is adding in a custom county border. So yeah, I want to do a couple of model comparisons. I'm actually going to turn off those. I'll leave them on. So Craighead County up here is technically outside of our area. That's Jonesboro. The KAIT actually has the ABC affiliate up there. But it'll start getting into Jonesboro probably around 6 o'clock tomorrow. So definitely some heavy rain coming through. Probably the winds will shift right as those storms come in. So it's going to be just blasting through very quickly. One thing that concerns me about these thunderstorms is just how the model's already kind of showing these in and outs right on the edge. So you can see that forward line. I think there's a draw tool. Yeah. So you see here that shape where it's sort of bowing forward. That means that the winds are pushing it forward much more quickly, and that can sometimes lead to a little circulation that leads to a tornado developing, and that is where we're going to have to be really concerned tomorrow evening. Once it gets to Memphis, this model has it getting to Memphis like right around 8 o'clock, so that's going to be, very evening time frame, and then it continues through northern Mississippi, western Tennessee, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. That's when it's starting to leave our area. Our border is right about here of what we cover. I'll just draw this whole thing on. Those are our counties. So a bit of a chop there in Arkansas, but that's the area where it's going to push through for 6 o'clock, 7, 8, 9, 10 is the severe will probably be out of our area by that time. We'll probably see those warnings continuing out this direction at that time, but got to be careful with my key press. We will be done with severe by 10 o'clock, at least on this model. I want to switch over to a different model just to see what differences there are. Let's go to the HRRR. I'll have to back it up to 18Z so that we can get all the way out to the end time. Yeah. So this one's a little less intense. As those storms coming in, so we've got the line of storms already. I'm going to take those county lines back off. County borders. Okay. It's got the line of storms, but it doesn't look quite as significant as that other line had it, where all of those dots were coming in very quickly. It's just right there on the cusp of the front as it's pushing through. You can kind of tell where the front is by just looking at these black lines. I'm going to do them in sort of a deep purple shade. So you see these lines here that are coming down. This is where the front would be, right inside of these lines coming back up. So if I switch back over to blue pen, this would be your cold front. Goodness. Here we are. We'll undo that real quick. So cold front comes right in here. We'll put the barbs on it every couple of spaces in here. Boom and boom. That's the cold front. As that pushes through, it's going to be forcing itself underneath all of the very warm air that's at the surface here. I can even add that layer on. Model surface, 2 meter temperature. 2 meter temperature. There we go. So yeah, we're in the 70s out ahead of this. Behind it, that's where you see the cooler temperatures in the 50s. So those temperatures drop 15 degrees either side of the cold front with the much colder air behind it pushing in. So as that pushes through, I'll delete that layer. This one comes up. There we go. So you've got those thunderstorms rolling through the area right there on the leading edge of that cold front. And that's when the cold temperatures come in behind it. This actually has a little bit of lingering convection by 10 o'clock, but it also pushes through much faster. See, by 8 o'clock, where the previous model had it in Memphis at 8, it's already clear of Memphis by 8 o'clock on this model. So this one might be a little bit earlier getting into our area by 5 p.m. So we're going to have to be very careful as these storm chances could accelerate their time of arrival. It's just going to be, whenever they do arrive, they will arrive with a bang. And again, this one still has it pretty intense once the line forms. It's just not quite together already as early as the other model was. It sort of develops right over our area. Ben's Basketball Life asking on YouTube, will tomorrow go moderate? I'm going to give the non-answer. That's not my decision. I could understand if they did, and I can understand holding off on it for today, because of course they did go with the enhanced risk from the Storm Prediction Center. And anytime you see something wide open like this, I feel like whenever we see it this wide, it does sort of invite us to think, hey, you could see, like, you could color it in. Like, heck, I'm not part of the National Weather Service. I'm not part of the Storm Prediction Center. I don't have any authority to issue alerts. So I'm going to just put that out there and sort of talk about what people try to do. People will see this and will think, oh, hey, I could color in you know, this area here, I could color in a moderate and say, hey, it looks like it's open for that. They don't always do that. Sometimes it's just the widespread threat of those storms is just going to be so widespread. That's why they've got such a large area. Someone else asking, Jackson asking about, do you see the 10 tour expanding at all, or even 10 to 15%? Okay, my argument against the 15 for a tour is that this is such a linear system. Most of the models that we've been looking at here, I'll go back to P-type here. I'll switch it back to, we haven't looked at the NAM 3K. So all of the high resolution models are just showing a line of thunderstorms. None of them are showing discrete supercells. Usually the 15% comes up with discrete supercells. What we're talking about here is the tornado threat. So there we go. I mean, expansion-wise, I feel like this lines up with the current models for the 10% where it's drawn. 15%, I just don't see a good argument for 15% tornado risk right now because all of these storms are linear convective systems, not discrete supercells. So I could understand if the models were breaking up this line, maybe going 15, but I think it's going to be primarily the high wind threat, which is what the Storm Prediction Center has. It's primarily the wind threat. That's why we've got that higher threat. Hey, Nebraska Weather TV, thank you for jumping in. Good to see you, Tim. If you're scared, hey, just be prepared, not scared. That's the phrase we like to say a lot. Bowie over on YouTube, appreciate you jumping in. Ben's asking, in your opinion, do you think there's a higher chance tomorrow goes moderate or not? I do kind of reserve my opinion to myself, honestly. I don't think that it's my place to say it's going to be a moderate or it's not going to be a moderate. I say what it is right now because the Storm Prediction Center, they have that authority to issue these alerts. I think that the threat is real, and whether it's moderate or enhanced or severe, if you get hit by 70, 80 mile per hour winds, it's going to be a bad day for you. Maybe not down the street, but maybe for your area, like wherever you get hit, it's a bad day for you. And so we've got to be, Bowie's first over here on Twitch. Appreciate you hitting that first redeem there. Yeah, whenever we have these severe weather threats, I try not to get so bogged down on when is it going to upgrade, when is it going to change. The subtleties there aren't the risk. The risk is just going to be the severe thunderstorms that could come through. And I mean, if they do upgrade to a moderate, that'll be the Storm Prediction Center's prerogative. But it just doesn't really look quite the threat level of a moderate yet. Like I agree with their assessment. Like if we go over here to their discussion, so they expanded the 45% risk. I will say I need to brush up on some of the new conditional intensity guidance thresholds that they have, because the old threshold of the 45 hatched on day 2 was a moderate, but I think the conditional intensity changed the threshold of that first hatch is not moderate at 45, but the second hatch is moderate at 45. So I need to brush up on some of those threats. But let's see here. I was reading this earlier that kind of, yeah, okay. So this is, to answer your question, Ben, I'm looking for like what they were saying of like why I think that they are holding off on the moderate versus going with the enhanced. So by late afternoon, an extensively long QLCS should become established from Illinois southwestward. Semi-discrete supercell development appears most favored along the southern portion of the border of the broader convective plume near the front and downstream with a strengthening warm, moist conveyor. So the key here is the semi-discrete supercell development. If it were more isolated storms in a row, then that would call for a moderate, I feel. But since it's going to be sort of congested in a line together, that QLCS setup, I think that's why they're kind of holding back on it, because QLCS storms can lead to a pretty high bust rate. You got to be cautious with those because you can have quick spin up tornadoes, quick bursts of micro bursts of wind, but it's not going to be a huge derecho, so to speak. I think if this were more derecho looky, this might be more prone for a moderate risk upgrade for day 2. But I think there is a chance that they upgrade tomorrow, but I think that they're holding off to make that decision tomorrow. For right now, now's just the time, either enhanced or moderate, now's the time to be ready for those thunderstorms. But is there a chance there is a moderate, is what the SPC is saying. The SPC doesn't necessarily say here that they were going to upgrade it tomorrow or tonight or anything. I think there is a possibility, yes, that they could upgrade it. Obviously, with a shorter time range, that's going to lead to more confidence, and they want more confidence when issuing these higher end threats. But I think that's the decision they'll make tomorrow rather than tonight. Sorry, I'm looking at the stream health over here on YouTube, and it is running a bit slow, so there is a bit of delay between what I'm saying and what you're hearing. So I apologize for some of the delay there in getting to your questions, but I do appreciate y'all jumping in here. I'll tell you, this is sort of my first time trying to double stream on YouTube and on Twitch, because I've got a few friends who follow me for weather on Twitch, and then I've got my main professional page on YouTube. So trying this out, a little bit of lag it looks like, so there may be some issue with the transmission that I might just at some point do one or the other in the future, but just trying it out. Of course, I usually work Sundays, so I won't be streaming this tomorrow. I'll be on air at ABC 24. Her update in 20, right? I think so. Let's see here. I can actually look on Aguacero. Yeah. Yeah, I think the 0Z will start coming out here soon. It'll probably be another 45 minutes before the 0Z is fully loaded in within range of this storm system. But I mean, the 23Z. All right, so look at this. The 23Z on the HER, this is at 11 o'clock. I want to pull it back to the 18Z just to see what it shows at that time. Because it looks like it's already starting off to the north. Just give it a second to load in. I'm going to turn off that layer. There we go. All right, so 23Z already had the line at 11 o'clock. So yeah, we've got like some early convection on the northern end, but then the main line, it looks like, let's add back sea level. There we go. So yeah, it looks like that might just be maybe an outflow from these storms back here. These storms look like they sort of push out some like upper warm sector storms early on, but that cold front is still lagging back here from your low. So we've got the low right there. We've got the warm front up there. It's a little farther south at that point. So yeah, somewhere around in there. And then as that pushes forward, that's when the warm front goes more to the north. And then that cold front swinging through here. It's a little finicky drawing on the map. Ben still pushing on the moderate. Uh-oh. Okay. We're back now. I don't know what that issue was. I probably got too many Chrome tabs open, honestly. And it looks like it kind of crapped out my map a little bit. There we go. All right. And then... I'm going to refresh this page. I think I'm running a little bit heavy on my computer. Thanks for the coverage. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think if we see the uptrend of those storms leading to, I've got my cat behind me, but if the storm does trend stronger, sure, they might go with moderate, but I don't think that's my place to say that they should or shouldn't necessarily. I always defer to their authority on that. But I'm going to switch things back over. This is refreshed. One of the interesting things on that north side, though, is going to be just the let's stay with the Rufus. Okay, so tangent here. If seems like some of y'all are pretty weather savvy here. So there's the recent new mesoscale model, the RRFS-A. This is meant to replace the HRRR. We've used the HRRR for several years. HRRR has had its good, has had its bad. Now they're pushing more research into the RRFS. I think it's Rapid Refresh Forecast System. I think. I'm not sure. A friend of mine is calling it the Rufus. So the Rufus model is what it will be here forward dubbed as is the Rufus. I just really like that name, calling it the Rufus. So let's take the Rufus forward here, because this is going to be like an insane amount of snow off towards the upper Midwest here. What is that? The I-94 corridor, I think? 94? I think. 90 to 94. I think it splits. I-90 to then 94 goes up to Fargo. But I mean, some of this snowfall, the snowfall rates, I think that's another layer. Let me find model, winter. Let's do 1 hour snow depth change. That'll probably be a good proxy for hourly snowfall rates. Yeah, 4 inches an hour. Goodness gracious. 5 inches an hour. I think that's a bit excessive. It's probably just a little over-modeled. But, I mean, with some of the snow accumulations that they're showing up, it could very well be, 4 or 5 inch an hour snowfall rates. Like, just right there. Like, getting into 5 inch an hour range, that is going to be dumping snow, a ridiculous amount. And if we switch that to winter, I will say I wish I could, if I have a model like this, if it like has all that there, just like instead of having to go back through all of these, just have that category. If I'm in category of snow depth, have the snow depth options down below it. That would be pretty cool. But if we just look at the full storm total forecast, let's see how this goes. Yeah. All right, so Minneapolis, downtown about 11 inches, a foot just south of town. Chippewa Falls, around 1.5 feet. Rhinelander, 2 feet of snow. Green Bay, about 1.5 feet. Marinette, about 2.5 feet, 31 inches there. Marquette, Michigan, 18. The Keweenaw Peninsula also getting about, I think that's the Keweenaw, 1.5 foot inland off towards the point, about 10 inches. Sault Ste. Marie, about 2 feet of snow. So just ridiculous amounts of snow. Des Moines, not quite so much. Davenport, a couple inches, but and obviously no inches for us here in Memphis. Sad. We had decent snowfall, but sleet really this last year. I want to look at the rainfall because the other side of we could see maybe some isolated like surface standing water. I don't think it's going to really be a flood threat for us. We might get a flood advisory, but it's mostly less than an inch here around Memphis. Some places maybe getting an inch and a half or so, but it's going to be moving so quickly, and there's not a big field of heavy rain lingering behind it. So I mean, it's going to be through and done pretty quickly for us. So that's not going to be the issue. Yeah, total precip. That's some fluffy snow. 1.5 foot from 1.7 inches. That's about a 10 to 15 snow depth ratio there. Fair amount of moisture with this storm coming through. Delete that layer back out. Another thing, I think there is like a cloud layer. Is that in the upper layer? Ooh. Ooh, now this is cool. How does this one work? Oh, very nice. Okay, now this is cool. All right, so this is photographs. This is a way to look at wind shear, how the winds turn with height as you go up. And it's a pretty cool look at how the winds are turning out ahead of these storms. So you can kind of see we've got a strong south wind that then starts to turn to more of a southwesterly wind. So as that turning happens, as it goes up in height, that allows the winds to change and roll over one another, and that leads to these horizontal rolling tubes of air that once you get a thunderstorm to pass right over that area, it's going to lift that tube and pivot it up, and that's how you can get a tornado. It's one of the ways you can get a tornado. So that's how we get those mesocyclones rolling. And all of these photographs here are curving very strong. So, I mean, these could be more tornadic setup for us as that line pushes in. It's just since the line, at least on this model, is already pretty set up, it's not broken, it's not isolated. All of that spin is going to get sort of interrupted. So if this storm up here wants to tap into this photograph, once it comes through, it's sort of getting fault. Like the incoming spiral is kind of getting fought off by the outflow from the storms down here. So it kind of interrupts it. If there's something that's very free, very open, I have a good shot here, but basically something like this where it's coming straight into it versus along the line, excuse me, that's going to lead to a little more of a clean chance for tornadoes to develop on the southern end versus on this north to south line. That being said, there's still plenty of that spiraling motion in the atmosphere that if one of these thunderstorms does try to spin up a little bit of a tornado in there, it's already got that spinning nature to it. So those straight line winds could easily turn into a tornado setup for us. So we'll have to keep that in mind. Aside from that, though, I think that I've said pretty much all I can about this setup here. I don't want to drone on too long here, but this was kind of a test run. We've had a few people who have joined in and had some interesting questions, so I do appreciate y'all for joining as well. Of course, I've been over there on Twitch, over on YouTube as well. If you want to watch coverage, if you're here in the Memphis area, I will be on air tomorrow evening, and you can follow online ABC24, ABC24 Memphis on YouTube. That's where we'll be live streaming, as well as on our digital platforms. But I don't think that I can share this on YouTube, like restream it on my stream. But I'll certainly be working hard tomorrow evening because, again, the timing of it is going to be pretty much near the end of my shift. So I'll probably be rolling out right as that finishes up. I also think the Oscars are on ABC this year, so we'll probably be covering up the Oscars, unfortunately. I'm bummed that I have to work during the Oscars, number one, but I think Sinners is up for a ton of awards. Our anchor, Pepper, was telling me about that. It'll be an interesting year because this is the first year they're actually requiring the judges to have watched the movie to score it. It's a whole thing. So we'll see how it goes. Tomorrow's going to be really interesting. Of course, stay safe. We appreciate everyone who does get out and chase the storms. I'm sure there's a lot of chasers out there who are excited for big risk day like this. But I mean, this is a lot of forested area, especially once you get into Mississippi, Alabama. This is all going to be happening after dark, so it's not really a good chase setup tomorrow, especially with it being primarily a straight line wind threat. So I'm going to wrap things up. I appreciate everyone who is watching us, watching me here on Twitch and YouTube, but I think that's about all I've got to say. So everyone stay safe tomorrow, and I will see you on the other side.